Hey everyone, and welcome back. Are you ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to take a look at Costco and see if it makes sense as an investment for your portfolio. I think a lot of us, love shopping at Costco,
Of course, who doesn't?
but, is it a good investment? That's what we're here to find out.
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, so we've got a ton of research here. And just to start off with a fun fact, Costco sells a lot of hot dogs, right?
Yeah, they're famous for that.
They sell over 137 million hot dogs a year.
It's unbelievable.
And the price has been $1.50 since 1985.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild? Talk about commitment to value, and we'll see that throughout their business model.
Absolutely. It's a key part of their strategy.
Okay, so let's get into it. Give us a little history of Costco.
Now,
How did this bulk buying behemoth come to be?
well, it actually started back in 1976 with a company called Price Club.
Price Club.
And they were kind of the pioneers of this warehouse club concept, selling things in bulk at a discount to small businesses.
Oh, and
Yeah, and the cool thing is the very first Price Club warehouse that ever opened is still open today.
wow.
Then in 1983, Costco enters the scene.
Okay.
So these two future giants are just kind of doing their own thing for a while.
Right, so at that point they were competing.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then in 1993, they decided to join forces and they created this company called Price Costco.
Price Costco, what a name.
I know, right? And eventually they settled on the name we all know and love today, Costco.
Okay, so that brings us to their membership model, which is super interesting from an investor perspective, right? It's not just about shopping, it's a revenue stream. So what are your thoughts on that and how it impacts their valuation and appeal to investors?
Well, it's a really clever model because those membership fees actually account for a huge portion of their operating income. So it's almost like a subscription service in a way.
Right, it's recurring revenue.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
very predictable,
Yeah.
very consistent.
It's got to be appealing to investors.
Yeah, for sure. But it also raises some questions about their valuation because, Morningstar currently assesses that Costco's stock is trading at a 55% premium to its fair value.
Okay, so 55% premium for someone who's not familiar with these kinds of analyses. What does that mean, and what are the factors that contribute to that premium?
Yeah, so fair value is basically what analysts believe a company is truly worth, based on things like their assets, earnings, and future growth prospects.
Okay, so they're fundamentals.
Exactly. And a premium just means that investors are willing to pay more than that estimated worth.
Interesting.
And in Costco's case, that premium is probably a reflection of their strong brand. They have a really loyal customer base and a history of very consistent performance.
Right, it makes sense. But is that premium justified, or are there risks associated with investing in a company that's creating so far above its estimated fair value?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Some investors might look at that and think, oh, it's overvalued, but others might argue that Costco's unique model and their growth potential justify that higher price. So it's really important to weigh the potential for further growth against the risk of, a potential correction.
Yeah, you got to find that balance, right?
Exactly.
Speaking of growth, Costco's not just about massive warehouses anymore. They've been quietly expanding their services business, offering everything from travel deals to insurance. Have you used any of their services?
I have. I've used their travel services before and actually had a really good experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a smart strategy for them because they can leverage their existing brand and that massive membership base to offer these additional services and generate new revenue streams.
Right, it kind of creates this stickier ecosystem, right? Making it harder for those members to leave.
Exactly. It all ties together.
And it plays into that sense of community that Costco seems to have. Like they're taking care of all your needs. But going back to the warehouses for a sec, did you know that Costco is actually the world's largest retailer of choice and prime beef?
No way.
Yeah, and organic foods and rotisserie chicken and wine.
I had no idea.
What does that tell you about their market dominance and their ability to just cater to this really diverse customer base?
Well, I mean, it says a lot about their buying power and their ability to negotiate these incredible deals with suppliers, and then they pass those savings on to their members, which just reinforces that value proposition.
Right.
It's a really smart cycle.
And that's a cycle that has fueled their growth, right?
Exactly.
And their global reach is pretty amazing too, over 890 warehouses worldwide.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And they've recently expanded into markets like China and New Zealand.
They're not slowing down.
It seems like they're always looking for new opportunities.
Absolutely. And their strategy is very deliberate. When they enter a new market, they usually start with just a few warehouses and really focus on building that brand awareness and that customer loyalty before they go all in.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a measured approach that's worked really well for them.
Okay, so we've got this massive global retailer with this unique membership model, a growing services business, and just an impressive track record of growth.
Hmm.
But are they resting on their laurels? What's their innovation pipeline looking like? Are they keeping pace with the rapidly changing world of retail?
That's a great question. And, Costco might not be known for being super flashy or trendy, but they're definitely investing in innovation, particularly in areas like e-commerce and data analytics. And they've seen huge growth in their online sales, especially during the pandemic.
Right, they were able to adapt pretty quickly to that shift toward online shopping.
Yeah, they were. And they're continuing to invest in improving their digital platform and their logistics.
But beyond e-commerce, are they exploring any other new concepts or formats?
Yeah, they're experimenting with smaller urban-focused warehouses because they're recognizing that not everyone has access to or even needs the space of a traditional Costco.
That makes sense.
And they're also using data analytics to personalize the shopping experience and really optimize their product offerings. So they're definitely trying new things.
It's interesting how they balance this need to innovate with their really core values of simplicity and value.
It's a delicate balance for sure.
Speaking of value, let's talk about that Kirkland signature brand.
Oh yeah, everyone loves Kirkland.
It's become a phenomenon, right?
Mhm.
It accounts for a significant portion of their sales. What's your take on their strategy with Kirkland's signature, and do you see any risks associated with it?
I think it's a brilliant example of brand building within a brand
Okay.
because it allows them to offer these high quality products at competitive prices, which further reinforces their value proposition. But you're right, there are some risks there. If the quality ever slips or if consumers start to see it as a separate entity from Costco, it could damage the overall brand.
So it's a balancing act. They need to maintain that high quality and make sure that it stays tightly integrated with the Costco experience. But let's switch gears for a moment and talk about a topic that's becoming increasingly important to investors: ESG factors, environmental, social, and governance. How does Costco measure up in those areas?
Costco actually has a pretty good reputation when it comes to ESG. They're known for treating their employees well, offering higher wages and better benefits than a lot of other retailers. And they've also made some significant progress in areas like sustainability, ethical sourcing, and reducing their environmental impact.
Those are all important factors for investors who are looking to align their portfolios with their values. But like any large company, they're not without their critics. Have there been any controversies or concerns raised about their ESG practices?
Yeah, like any company, they've had some challenges. There have been some concerns raised about sourcing practices for certain products and their impact on local communities.
Right, so it's important to acknowledge those concerns and look at the full picture. Investors need to do their own research and determine if a company's practices really align with their personal values.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get back to the financials. We've talked about their revenue growth and profitability, but what about their overall financial health? How would you assess their debt levels, their cash flow, and their return on equity?
So Costco has a really strong balance sheet with manageable debt levels and very consistent cash flow generation. And they've also demonstrated a solid return on equity, which basically means they're using shareholder investments effectively. However, that high valuation does add an element of risk.
Okay, so they're financially sound, but that premium valuation is definitely something to keep in mind.
Hmm.
Now, for those investors who are focused on income, let's talk about Costco's dividend policy and their share buybacks. Are they a good bet for generating income or potentially boosting that share price?
So Costco does have a history of paying dividends, and they occasionally issue special dividends, but their dividend yield is relatively low compared to other companies, particularly in the retail sector.
Okay, so maybe not the best choice for those income-focused investors.
Probably not.
What about their share buyback program? Have they been actively repurchasing shares, and how might that impact shareholders?
They have, and it can be a good sign for investors.
How so?
Well, share buybacks reduce the number of outstanding shares, which can potentially boost earnings per share and increase the value of the remaining shares.
So it's a way to return value to shareholders.
Exactly. It's all part of their capital allocation strategy.
Makes sense. Something I think about sometimes is the impact of a company like Costco on the overall economy. I mean, they're a huge employer. Their presence can really shake things up in a community. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a complex issue. On the one hand, Costco's warehouses create jobs, they generate tax revenue, and they often offer higher wages and better benefits than a lot of other retail jobs. So that can be a real positive for employees.
But there's also the potential for downsides, right? Some people argue that those low prices and that bulk buying model can really squeeze out smaller local businesses.
Yeah, that's a valid concern for sure. The impact of big box stores like Costco on local economies is something that we need to think carefully about. You know, weigh those potential benefits against the possible drawbacks.
It's all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored Costco's history,
Yeah.
their unique membership model, their financial performance, their impressive market share, their innovation efforts, their commitment to ESG principles, and even their economic impact. We've covered a lot.
We have.
But at the end of the day, the big question for investors is Costco a stock you'd consider adding to your own portfolio?
That's what we all want to know, right? Well, based on everything we've talked about today, Costco has a lot to offer investors. They've got strong financials, a super loyal customer base, a global reach, that growing services business, and they're even making progress in areas like e-commerce and sustainability.
It's like they're checking a lot of boxes.
Yeah, they really are. But we can't ignore that premium valuation,
Yeah.
That's definitely something to think about, especially if you're worried about potential market fluctuations. And as we mentioned, there are those potential risks associated with their reliance on the membership model and the impact of, economic downturns on consumer spending.
So it's all about weighing those potential risks against the potential rewards.
Exactly. And that's what makes investing so interesting.
For sure. We've thrown a lot of information at you today, but that's what these deep dives are all about. We want to give you the knowledge to make informed decisions.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your research journey. Don't just take our word for it. Go out there, do your own digging, explore different perspectives, and come to your own conclusions. You might even uncover some insights that we didn't talk about today.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on Costco. Head over to the comments section on our YouTube channel and let us know what you think. Is it a buy, a hold, or a sell?
And while you're there, tell us what other companies or industries you'd like us to take a deep dive into next. We're always looking for interesting investment stories to explore.
We love getting your input and hearing what you're most interested in.
So until our next deep dive, keep those portfolios diversified, those minds curious, and those investing spirits high.
Happy investing, everyone. And remember, the best investment you can make is in yourself. Wow, that was a lot of information about Costco.
It was. We really went deep.
I feel like we covered everything from their, humble beginnings as Trice Club to their, current status as this global retail giant. We've talked about their membership model, their financials, their commitment to ESG, even their, impact on local economies.
Yeah, it's fascinating how much there is to unpack with a company like Costco.
You know what really stood out to me was their consistency.
In what way?
Like they've really stuck to those core values.
Yeah.
That they've focused on long-term growth. And they haven't really been swayed by all those, fleeting trends we see in retail.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're not chasing fads. They're building something sustainable.
And they've managed to adapt at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like they embraced e-commerce. They're experimenting with those new, smaller store formats, but they haven't lost sight of, that commitment to value.
Yeah, that balance is key. They're innovating, but they're not abandoning what works.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget those Kirkland signature deals.
Oh, yeah, everyone's got their favorites.
It's a testament to their brand power, right? How they've created this sense of loyalty, almost like a community among their members.
Yeah, it's really unique. I mean, very few retailers have been able to build a brand that's synonymous with both quality and value, like Kirkland Signature.
And that resonates with people all over the world.
Exactly.
So is Costco a buy, a hold, or a sell? That's the big question.
That's what everyone wants to know.
We've given you a ton of info today, a lot to think about, but ultimately the decision is yours.
You got to do what's right for your own portfolio and your own risk tolerance.
We can't make that decision for you.
No, but hopefully we've given you the tools to make an informed decision.
And remember, this is just a starting point. Go out there, do your own research, dig a little deeper, and come to your own conclusions.
Exactly.
And we want to hear what you think. Head over to our YouTube channel, leave a comment. Let us know, is Costco a buy, a hold, or a sell?
And tell us what other companies or industries you want us to deep dive into next.
We love getting your suggestions.
So until next time, keep learning, keep investing.
And keep an eye out for those Kirkland deals.
Happy investing, everyone.